So 1999 is coming to an end. I'm invited to this cool kids party somewhere in Karen. So I take my good self to the party. And the reason why I wanted to go was because there was a crush that I had on somebody, and that person was in that party. I knew though I'd be invited. So I get to the party, and when I walk in, I see where they are seated, her and her crew. And of course, I approach, because a man must man. So I walk to where they are. But before I get to them, one of the, I'd say ladies, steps up, says, hey, young man, wait. Are those your shoes? Did you walk here? So, of course, I'm startled because I'm thinking that I'm in my best element, and that's why I've been able to approach, that specific crowd. But it got me thinking, how do I fit into this scenario? Because indeed, I had walked to the place. I had just left home maybe a year before that, so I was trying to make it on my own, see how life turns out. So it set me back, and I was very worried about what my future portended. Fast forward, the year 2000 comes, we've survived the millennium bug, we are alive, the world looks like it's thriving, there are new things happening, the internet is about to boom. I see an ad in the newspaper. Of course, I'm looking for a job. So I see the ad, I just got out of college, and it says, short interviews, a quick process, you just need an ID, you need a dress shirt. Dress shirt, for those who were like me at that time, didn't know, it just meant a button shirt. And a tie. I'm like, this must be a decent job, because why would anybody ask for a dress-up shirt and a tie? Anyway, I walked to town very early in the morning, because I was meant to be at that location by 7 in the morning. So I walked to town, and then I take a matatu from town. It was somewhere in Westlands. So I got myself to Westlands. And I walk into this massive warehouse. There's a reception. And I go there and I tell them, yeah, my name, so-and-so. They didn't even care about the name. Just like, do you have your ID? Yes. Okay, put your ID here. Then go to the back room. Went to the back room, and I found people being given packages. And so I'm given my package, which that time, during that week, I guess, the campaign was around lunch boxes. So I was given a package of 10 lunch boxes. 10 packs. In each of the packs is 4 lunch boxes. And I see everybody picking up their bags and just leaving. So I follow suit. I take my bag and I leave. Then I come out and I'm asking people, like, what's happening? They're like, yeah, we're supposed to sell these things. So how much do you make? Well, if one of them is 100 shillings for the 4, and you make 10%. I'm like, well, 10% is a good, decent amount for commission. So I get onto the road. So we walk and walk and walk and walk. Remember my shoes? Rubber sole, very thick, very dusty, but I could go anywhere. Walk and walk and walk. That day, I think, with the person that I was with, he was showing me the ropes. I sold 1 lunchbox. And then walk in the evening back to the place, deposit the rest of the merchandise, and I'm given my 10 shillings and my ID. And off I go. Next morning, very early again, show up again in the office, put in my ID. Remember, I've told myself, I've moved out of home, I'm going to make it, or make it. So whatever it is that I need to do, if I sold 1,000 of these things, I'll probably make how much? 1,000 times 100 of them, 10,000, that's probably 1,000 shillings that I'm making, right? That sounds like good money. That day, we leave, and we are walking around, I think all the way to Parklands, areas of Westlands. And suddenly, in the middle of nowhere, there's a commotion. People are running, and I'm wondering, hey, what's happening? So, of course, you don't wait to see. This is Nairobi, yeah? You just take off also. So I found myself jumping over this massive trench, over some wall, and just kept running for about half an hour. By the time I stopped I was on my own. There was nobody around, and there was nobody chasing me. So I was like, okay, not too bad. But then when I checked in my pack, I found that I dropped 2 of the packs. So I'm only left with 8. Now I'm beginning to figure out in my head, how am I going to make 200 shillings to pay for the 2 packs that I lost? Because remember, my ID is in there, so I can't get it until I return. Books need to balance. Anyway, so walked around. I was lucky that day I sold another 2. So now I'm 6. I get back to the office with 6 of them, and I'm left with 200 shillings that I've been given, and 200 that I need to pay back. So out of my own pocket, I pay 200 plus the 200. And then I'm given back 40 shillings. That's my commission. And my ID. So I contemplate, while I'm going home. This is like 8:30 in the night. I'm still thinking in my head, is this what I really want to do, and how is it going to be? Anyway, next morning I wake up again, I'm like, we will make it. Every day you refresh and you get hope. So I leave again, get to Westlands, I'm given another pack of 10, there we go, hitting the road. So I was simply a machingas, and I guess you know the machingas. Guys who sell you stuff on the road, in the cars and everything. That was me. So that day, I went to one of the government offices and I presented this package to somebody, and she told me, young man, you look like you are eager, you have good brains, you're determined, you did, information sciences. I think there's something more you can do with your life. So how about there's a government project that's about to begin, and they're recruiting, actually. They just need data entry clerks and a few other people. So if you can present yourself, there's an office at the back end, go there and just say you've come for the job, and you'll be registered. So that's what I did. Went, registered, told them that, I can sell, speak good English, that's good enough. You can understand computers, good stuff. So I went, continued selling my stuff. I didn't sell too much that day, and then I went back to the office, returned the merchandise, and got my ID. That evening, one of my neighbors happened to be working in the place that I'd gone to sell to that government official. So he comes and tells me, hey, by the way, your name was put in the system, and you're supposed to report tomorrow. So next day, there I go, government office. Now, I've not gone to the Machinga's place. And anyway, there was never notice. You show up, put your ID, you pick your stuff. You don't show up, somebody else shows up with an ID, and they pick stuff. Yeah. So there was no notice. So I show up at the government office, and I'm told, project starts on Monday, just show up on Monday. Just be decent. That's all. So Monday, I got myself to the office, somewhere in town. Now it was easier because I'm just walking to town. My shoes are good enough. This is shoes worth, 800 shillings. And on the pathways, I could always recycle, because for people who walk, there's always somebody selling a sole. There's a shoemaker. There's a guy with glue. Along that path, there's always services for that type of person. So I was that type of person. Those are my shoes. Anyway, 800. I get into government. Now, fortunately or unfortunately, these guys were very creative. What had happened was that there's a donor fund that was running that project. They paid money to somebody, project manager. The project manager, in his wisdom, decides he's going to keep this money into a fixed deposit account. So on the first month, we don't get paid. But we have the letters, so we're okay. As they say, so long as you owe government, or rather, as long as government owes you, government will pay. Second month, still nothing. But I'm easy because I just walk to town, I do my thing on the computers, whatever. In the evening, I walk back home. So my costs are very low. House rent was very low. By that time, my dad was still supporting me. Third month, still no pay. Then on the fourth month, we got paid first month's dues. So 500 shillings per day, multiplied by the days, it was about 10,500 shillings. Immediately, what do I go and do? Look for better shoes, because that's my service. That's my transportation. So I moved from 800 to about 1,500 shillings for a month's shoes. Yeah, so scale on. So fourth month, salary of the first month. Fifth month, salary of the second month. Like that, because somebody is making interest on the fixed deposit. Anyway, by the seventh month, I think I had it. I'm like, I can't keep chasing money. There's always too much month at the end of my money. So I've got to do something better. So incidentally, it just happened that that day, there was a recruitment going on in some hotel, the backside of the government office that I worked at. And somebody said, hey, you've done computers, you know a bit about these things. Yeah, they are trying to put up a business center. So just walk in there, go and ask for the HR and tell them you're the IT guy. So I went. I got into the office. I tell the guy, I'm the IT guy. I said, oh, yeah. HR is looking for somebody in IT. And I find myself before the director of human resources. He tells me, yeah, what do you do? What did you study? Those days, those were very unique skills. So whatever I was saying, he had no idea what it was. Yeah? So I could have said anything. But then I could open the machine, I could bring up the programs, I could surf, could open for them Internet Explorer, put in something, and they could see, I think you know what you're doing. So he tells me, okay, what we'll do, today is Thursday, there's a tailor who's coming to measure you because you're going to be at the front office. Here we give uniforms. And the uniform includes shoes. So a full kit. Report on Monday, you'll be good. So I go home. I can't yet celebrate because there were too many pranksters in Nairobi. So I didn't know if this is true or not. But I said, anyway, Monday I show up. Very early, 6:30, I walk to town. I get in and I'm welcomed. And there are showers and there's breakfast and all sorts of things on the officer's mess. I'm like, this is good life. Anyway, so I get in, I get my uniform, and I report, and I start working. So I was at that hotel, 5-star hotel, for the next, it was about 7 months. No, actually, 9 months. On the 9th month, which was September, something happened globally. 9/11 happened. This hotel happened to be an American hotel, at least on the background. So what happens in such scenarios? Because they need to cut down on costs, because what has happened? The occupancy has moved from 90% to about 10%. So they decide, okay, usually it's what? Last in, first out. So I was on the trail. So there I am, told, okay, good and faithful servant, you've done well for us. However, circumstances. So I said, I understand. So I left, but then I had built some networks within the hotel because I knew they used to sell a loyalty card, which was called Privilege Club at that time. And I'm like, I can sell this card. I can talk to people. I can express myself on the phone. I can do telesales. So they told me, okay, if you can, there's no pay, there's no food, you're not an employee of the hotel, but you can be coming in, you sit at the desk, make calls, if somebody says they want to buy, you can go and see them. How you get to see them, that's really your problem. Whether they're in Langata, whether they're in Westlands, wherever it is, we're in town. So anyway, I said, I have been a Machingas. What can I do in this town? Yeah? So I picked up the phones, made the calls, started looking at the lists, in the newspapers, anybody high profile, I try and get contacts and I call. Anyway, I called somebody in an insurance company, one of my friends, and I thought they could buy this loyalty card. It was about 10,000 shillings for the year. And then you get all sorts of benefits, buffets on Sundays and things like those. It was luxury. So he tells me, yeah, come and see me. So I went to the office somewhere in Upper Hill. He tells me, this thing you're selling doesn't make any sense. But I can take you to somebody. They'll probably give you a good idea. If they can spend on it, well and good. If not, they'll probably help your life. He takes me where? To the CEO. So this young man has something to sell to you. And then he leaves me there. So I explained to this Mzungu, hey, there's this thing, whatever. He hadn't gone even 10 seconds. He told me, just cut the bull. I'm not going to buy this thing of yours. This is Africa. You're selling the wrong things to people, and that's why people waste money in this country. We have to build lives. So what you're going to do, I want to give you something that you can sell that helps people. And I became an insurance salesperson. He told me, come in. I'll pay you 30,000 shillings for the first month, 20,000 shillings for the second month, 10,000 shillings for the third month. That's your retainer. From there, you're on your own. And the reason why I'm paying you that is because you'll be attending training in the first month. In the second month, you start going to the market. By the third month, you understood what it is you're supposed to do. But you cannot go looking like how you came, looking like. Because people buy perception. This is an insurance industry. You have to look in a certain way. I said, well, fine. So in that first month, of course, I bought myself a suit. Actually, I got a tailor who made me something decent. Second month, I bought some shirts and ties. By the third month, I think I was okay. But then I didn't have any money left. However, in the second month, my boss for the unit says, we're going to have a small welcoming party, and usually what we do is we ask the new entrants to buy lunch. I'm like, okay. So I said, yes, I'm that guy. So we go, have lunch somewhere in Upper Hill, and I pay the bill. It was not small money. I think it was maybe, for the 20,000 I had earned in that month, I think it was coming to about 10,000 shillings. So like half of my salary. I'm like, but yes, I'm getting into the system, yeah? So I spent. Anyway, so he asked me in the middle of the lunch, so where did this money come from? Which envelope did the money come from? I'm like, my home envelope. I didn't steal. This is my own money. I made money. He's like, no. Does it come from social spending? Does it come from your amenities? Does it come from rent? Which envelope did you get this money from? I realized I was doing this thing all wrong because I never knew. I mean, money comes, money goes. Whatever it is that it comes from, more money will come. Yeah, not too different from a tout. Today I make, tomorrow it gets finished, I'll make more tomorrow. But then I didn't know that the 3 months will come to an end. Anyway, from that point I realized, okay, I need to actually start budgeting. One of the first things I had to do, of course, apart from the suit, I needed to look for shoes that I can go and appear before people and they actually buy from me. Now I've stopped walking, because I cannot really walk into somebody's office when I'm sweaty and I'm trying to sell them insurance. I can't go in looking ragged, dried lips, haven't eaten, because they'll be like, I give you this premium of 5,000 shillings. Will it even get to the office? I don't think so. So, of course, I have to step up. Now, I can't go dropping off from a matatu, then I walk into somebody's office. So, what I used to do, because there was no cab hailing then, I take a matatu to the nearest shopping center, and then I take a taxi from there. Still very expensive. But at least when the taxi drives into the office block, when the receptionist peeps out, they can see me walking out of a car, and I go into the office. They're like, your visitor is here, and they'll call the person I've gone to see. And it helped me. It was, an image I was trying to build, but it helped me to actually scale the insurance industry. And I was there 4 years. In that period, I again called somebody who was working in a telco. A senior person I was referred to and was told, call this guy, he can afford to pay 100,000 shillings a month for a premium. I did the math quickly, 100,000, 5,000 used to give me 30,000. So 100,000 will give me some serious money as commission. So I put on my best suit, I go to see this fellow. And I tell him, this is the situation, I want to sell you products that are going to help your family do this. Again, he cut me short and told me, Africa, we don't buy insurance. Who would start thinking about death, and why are we making money for people who, I will not be there to even enjoy the money. So this thing that you're selling, which I can't see, stop it. I want to give you something that you can sell, that people can see. And immediately I dropped because I was on commission. I just didn't report back to the insurance company on the Friday. And on Wednesday, I reported to the telco, and he tells me, yeah, you're going through induction, 2 weeks. After that, go and sell. But mercifully, I had a salary now. So I decided, okay, apart from these impression things, now I've been seeing how people look and how sales are made because of what you look like. I decided, I'm going to step up. Within that first year, I made a few sales. By the second year, I've decided what? I'm going to buy a car. So I go look for somebody within the business who was selling a car, tell them, yeah, I'd like to purchase. They take me to HR and they tell me, okay, this young man wants to buy a car. We want to fund him, but you need to authorize. HR, of course, authorized, and I got my first car at that time, a German machine. I was earning 50,000, and I was being deducted 25,000 for the car. Very smart man, right? Anyway, so I start driving around. Now I go anywhere and everywhere because I need to make money to keep paying off my loan and also to make an impression in the marketplace. The shoes have moved. Now I couldn't drive with thick soles. So I have to get a shoe that can drive, right? So those shoes that can drive, they look smaller, they are tinier, more fragile, but they are more expensive. So it's like 3,000 shillings now. We're moving on. I was in the telco industry for another 10 years. One company 5 years and another one 5 years. While I'm there again, somebody identified me. I was doing some sales pitch somewhere. They had me and they said, there's somebody looking for somebody like you who can actually pitch high-end business. Now from telco into technology. And again, I transitioned out, moved to this new company, and then I realized, voila, on the first day of training, some very old guy comes to do a training on the products. He doesn't look anything like his title. Just ragged shirt, very tired shoes, faded jeans, but his content was A1. So I listened and I listened and I listened, and I'm like, I've been spending so much time and money on this appearance thing, but this guy just has content. And I could pass him on the road without even saying hi to him, but his content is worth what? Maybe 10 times my value. Anyway, then I go for a training outside the country. Now, we've moved from walking, from matatus, from taxis to driving. Now we are taking flights outside the country. So at the airport, I'm here waiting to board. I've taken my best shoes, my best kit. Here I am looking very decent. And I look around and I'm seeing people in sandals, in Crocs. Man, what am I doing? What is this I'm struggling with? Yeah, everybody's just effortlessly just going about their business. And I realized now I'm on shoes worth, 12 to 15,000 shillings. Sneakers, 30,000, easily, without feeling anything. And I looked and I said, those shoes can't be, those Crocs cannot be worth the shoes that I'm putting on, really. Why am I still struggling with these shoes? Anyway, long and short, that's where my shoe game came to an end, because I then realized content actually has more capacity for me than the shoes that I was looking at. But you see, a man still needs to eat, has to find something to do, has to make use of himself to the point where you're of use to society. And looked back, and I remember that first conversation I ever had with this lady who stopped me in my tracks from approaching my crush. They told me, judged me on my shoes and just dismissed me. But there's a pain that she infused in me that made me raise my game for 20 plus years in that period where I kept scaling from one level to another. To this day, I never got to speak to that crush. I don't know where she went, no idea. But then, because of the pain, I got to raise my game and did the stuff that I needed to do in life. Nowadays, the money that I used to spend on that, I'm putting it into social entrepreneurship, helping people in the startup market do things, small things here and there. But it gives more satisfaction than chasing this dream of shoes and appearances. Thank you very much.